Hey guys, hope you're doing well. In case if you're following my video, please let me know how you're enjoying it by clicking a like button or putting comments in the comment section. In case if you have any doubts or clarifications, please feel free to contact me to the number displayed here. And also if you want to be a part of WhatsApp group created to discuss about the topic or share the materials, please send me a request so that I can add you in the WhatsApp group. Okay. Now, in this chapter, we are going to discuss about the concept of supply. Now, before this, let us discuss about what we had discussed earlier. In the earlier video, that is video 2.2, we had discussed about chargeability, right? So, section 9 we had discussed, and a chargeability section, there are 5 sections, 5 subsections in section 9. We have discussed all the 5 provisions, that is chargeability of CGST at a rate not exceeding 20% at the value determined under section 15. The rate will be notified by the GST Council, and petroleum products shall not be levied till the date recommended by the GST Council, and there will be a levy under reverse charge mechanism on the notified goods or services, including the goods purchased from unregistered dealer subject to certain conditions we have discussed. Similarly, in case on the notified services, any services provided through e-commerce operator, only for the notified services, the chargeability is with the e-commerce operator. Clear? Yeah. So while discussing about the important definitions, I had mentioned that the few important other definitions we are going to discuss as and when required, right? So now before we get into the concept of supply, so we'll also look at few important definitions which are relevant for the purpose of discussion of supply. Now, let us see the definition of consideration. Section 2 subsection 31 talks about consideration. Consideration in relation to the supply of goods or services are both includes. Now, look at it is starting with the word includes. I discussed, right? Meaning inclusive definition and exhaustive definition. So, inclusive definition is including the items of what is specified in section 2 subsection 31, keeping as it is the definition of consideration, meaning of consideration. What is the general meaning of the term consideration? Something in return is what we have discussed. We have studied in section 2 subsection D of Indian Contract Act. Keeping that as it is, keeping consideration means something in return, that is quid pro quo has to be established. Keeping that, it also includes the following items. Okay. Now let us see. It includes any payment made or to be made, whether in money or otherwise, in respect of, in response to, or for the inducement of the supply of goods or services or both, whether by the recipient or by any other person, but shall not include any subsidy given by the central government or a state government. Now, this is how we have to read this section. Any payment made or to be made, whether in money or otherwise. So what is consideration? Consideration also includes money, payment in money or otherwise. What is otherwise means? Even without money, if you receive any other thing other than money, that is in kind, is also a consideration, right? In respect of supply of goods or services, in response to supply of goods or services, or for the inducement of supply of goods or services or both, whether by the recipient or by any other person. It means if you receive any payment for the supply of goods or services, or if you receive in kind for the supply of goods or services by the recipient or by any other person, it means consideration, that is payment, is not required to be received only from the recipient of goods or services or both. Now, here Recipient refers to recipient of goods or services or both, not the recipient of consideration. Please be careful here. Now, this consideration may not be from the recipient of goods or services. It can be either from the recipient of goods or services or from any other third person. But still it will be treated as a consideration, but shall not include subsidy given by the central government or state government. Now, in case if you receive any subsidy from the central government or state government, it will not be treated as consideration. Now understand, here it talks about only central government and state government. What in case if you receive any subsidy from a charitable organization? It means if you receive any subsidy from a charitable organization, then it will be treated as a consideration. If you receive from central government and state government, it will not be treated as consideration. Now, in section 2 subsection 31, what we have understood in clause A is consideration also includes money or in kind for the supply of goods or services. Consideration can be received by the recipient or other than the recipient from any other person, but not the subsidy received from central government or state government. Clear? Now let us go to part B, clause B of this section. The monetary value of any act or forbearance in respect of, in response to, or for the inducement of the supply of goods or services or both, whether by the recipient or by any other person, but shall not include any subsidy given by the central government or state government. Now, what is the difference between clause A and clause B? Try to analyze here. The monetary value of any act or forbearance. Now understand, what is an act of forbearance? Act to do something or not to act particular thing is a forbearance. It means, now say for example, you have a hotel and you will sell that hotel for some amount. If you are selling the hotel for some amount, let's say money, and you have made the supply, that is covered under part A. And under a separate contract, you also enter that you will enter a contract saying that you will not be involved in opening another hotel in and around that area for another period of 5 years. It means it's an act of forbearance. You are entering into a contract and you will get a consideration not to open a restaurant, not to do a particular thing. Even that is whatever the consideration you receive, whatever the amount you receive for that purpose, even to not to do anything, will be treated as a consideration. However, same, look at the common points. Common points between A and B is money or anything, okay, and it shall not be from the subsidy from the central government, state government. In case if you receive anything from the central government, state government, in both the point A and B will not be treated as consideration. Now look at part C. Provided that a deposit given in respect of the supply of goods or services or both shall not be considered as payment made for such supply unless the supplier applies such deposit as consideration for the said supply. Now understand, money or otherwise kind will be treated as a supply, will be treated as a consideration for the supply. However, if you receive subsidy, will not be treated as a supply from the central government or state government. In case if you receive the deposit, it shall not be treated as a consideration. Now understand, deposits will be of two types: refundable deposit, non-refundable deposit. Refundable deposit is what covered in point C. Non-refundable deposit, since it is not being repaid, it will be treated as an income. So therefore it gets covered under consideration. However, refundable deposit, usually what happens, this will be refundable at the end of the fixed tenure, but subject to certain conditions specified in the contract. Sometimes what happens, assume rental agreement. You enter into a rental agreement. What's the general practice in case of rental agreement? You have to pay rent, and also initially you also have to give the security deposit. Security deposit may be rent equivalent to 3 months of rent or 10 months. It varies from place to place. Now, see, you have given the both security deposit as well as you are paying the rent. Only on the rent, GST will be applicable. We'll see the conditions attached to rent, what type of rent is taxable. Now, for time being, assume all rents are taxable. You're paying the rent and GST is applicable, but you also paid the security deposit. That security deposit will not be treated as a consideration. Only a rent will be treated as a consideration. However, in case at the time of vacating the property, if you are not paying the rent and if the security deposit is adjusted towards the rent, then it will be considered as a rent as per the terms of the agreement. So therefore, at that time, that shall be treated as the deposit amount which is adjusted towards the rent shall be treated as a consideration. Am I clear? Now, so these 3 points are discussed with the help of a table here. Consideration, payment in money or otherwise, correct? Otherwise means any in kind. Payment in money or otherwise. Part A. Part B. Money value of act or forbearance for the supplier. Both the cases, you may receive money either by the recipient or by any other person. Recipient of goods or services or by any other person. However, deposit to be considered as a payment only when the supplier applies such deposit as consideration for the said supplier. I've given the example of rent and security deposit. However, see, for the point A and for the point B, subsidy received from the central government is excluded from the definition of consideration. So if you receive consideration, if you receive any amount, say a subsidy from the central government, state government for the item specified in point A or point B, it is not a consideration. Am I clear? Alright, shall go to the next definition. Definition of business. Very lengthy definition. Yeah. Now look at the definition. Again, it is also starting with the word includes. So it's an exhaustive definition. Keeping as it is the term, the meaning, business. So meaning is easy to understand. When somebody says I'm into business, it's easy to understand. But little complicated here to understand the definition of business. Now let us see. Point A. Any trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, adventure, wager or any other similar activity, whether it is not for a pecuniary benefit. Pecuniary benefit means monetary benefit. Wager means betting. So any trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, all your adventure, even including the betting, whether you do with an intention to gain monetary benefit or not, but intention does not matter. But if you do all this activity, it will be treated as a business. Number one. Now, point B and point C is an extended version of point A. Now look at this. Any activity or transaction in connection with or incidental ancillary to clause A means any activity you do or any transaction you do which is incidental or extended version ancillary to subclause A for the activity specified here in clause A, that is trade, commerce, manufacture, profession. Anything you do in connection or ancillary to clause A will also be treated as a business. Clear? Next, any activity or transaction in the nature of clause A, whether or not there is volume, frequency, continuity or irregularity of such transaction. So transaction frequency does not really matter whether to treat it as a business or not. Say for example, to connect all A, B, C, D, I'll just give you an example. You are a chartered accountant in practice. What is your nature of service? All the services of chartered accountants, right? Now you have an AC installed at your office and you sell that AC, right? Now whether that AC is used for the purpose of business? Yes. And that AC was purchased in the course of business? Yes. And any activity, see the second part, any activity transaction in connection or incidental or ancillary to subclause A. So sale of AC, it was purchased for the purpose of business. It's an incidental to the profession you are in. It's an ancillary for the purpose of this business or profession. Therefore, even that sale of AC, though it is not your main business, will also be treated as a business. Included in the definition of business. Okay. You may say, sir, I'm doing it only one transaction in the lifetime I have done, sale of AC. Only one time I have done. Will that be treated as a business? Answer is yes. Frequency really does not matter. Volume really does not matter. Therefore, the business, it will be considered as a business. Now, supply or acquisition of goods, including capital goods and services in connection with commencement or closure of business. Now, supply or acquisition. Sir, supply I can understand, sir. I can sell of capital goods, I can understand. But even acquisition will also be treated as a business. Yes. Remember the chargeability section 9. In case if you import any goods, you have to pay GST. Yes. Even the acquisition will also be treated as a supply. So supply or acquisition of goods, including capital goods and services in connection with the commencement or closure of business, is also a business. See, I had given the example earlier. You are into manufacture of pen, right? When you're manufacturing pen, your main business is purchase and sale of pens or manufacture of pens. But installing the machinery at the time of at the commencement of the business, the procurement of machinery will also be treated as a business. Or in case if you dispose any of this machinery, will also be treated as a business, which is in connection or closure of business. Now, clause E, provision by a club, association, society or any such body for a subscription or any other consideration of the facilities or benefits to its members. Now, provision by a club or association. Now, very important topic here. Association. Let us say apartment owners association. It's an association, right? So usually the normal practice is, in case if you are in an apartment, each flat owner will pay amount to the association as a monthly maintenance. Correct? That out of that amount, any expenses which is common expenses will be incurred, will be utilized. Whether such contribution will also be treated as a business? The answer is yes. So there is no profit element in that. Agreed. But that falls under the definition of business. Provisions by a club, association, society or any such body for a subscription or any other consideration of the facility or benefit to its member. It is for the benefit of which members? Answer is yes. And it's an association. In the example which I have given, apartment owners association, contribution made, monthly maintenance will also be treated as a business. So is it taxable? GST will be applicable on that. We'll see in the subsequent chapters. Now, for the time being, understand that also falls under the definition of business. Now, clause F, admission for a consideration of a person to any premises. Say, if you enter any museum or any amusement park by paying a consideration, that admission is also treated as a business. Right? Next, G, services supplied by a person as the holder of an office which has been accepted by him in the course or furtherance of his trade, profession or occasion. Say for example, uh, take the example of the Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce president is elected for the Chamber of Commerce, and he will be looking into the affairs of the Chamber of Commerce for the well-being of the members of the Chamber of Commerce. Assume he is being paid a remuneration. Will that be treated as a business? Answer is yes. That will also be treated as a business. Next, clause H. Services provided by a race club by way of totalizator or a license to bookmaker in such club. So what is this point? Now, understand license to bookmaker and totalizator. Now, assume in case if you want to bet gambling of a race, that is a wager is already covered, right? Race is already covered, but here we are not talking about in point H, we are not talking about the race, we are talking about some other service relating to that. Now let us see. In case if you want to participate in the race club, okay, you will have a lot of options for the betting. It is not only two options, either to win or bet on lose or bet on win. It is not only two options, there are several options with the several combinations, right? Now, bookmaker is a person who collects the money for the various pool of the betting and reduce the commission which is payable to the turf club, and also reduce the taxes payable and distribute the amount to the winning people, right? That is the role of a bookmaker. So the services of the bookmaker, the totalizator is an equipment. Whatever thing I explained, an equipment will do. And it is a manual process. Bookmaker is a manual process. Totalizator is an equipment, a device which will do all this activity. Whether the service of this will also fall under the definition of business? Answer is yes. That falls under the definition of business. Remember, we are not talking about here the gambling, which is already covered in part A. We are talking about here the services of bookmaker or the totalizator is also covered under the definition of business. Now, any activity or transaction undertaken by the central government, a state government or any local authority in which they are engaged as a public authority. What are these items? Now, see, talking about these services provided by central government, state government and local authority as a public authorities. Which are those? Say for example, IRCTC, okay, power supply, water supply, okay, road transportation. These are all the public authorities, and these public authorities is also coming under the definition of business. So is it taxable? We'll see that later. Now we are not talking about whether it is taxable or not. We are seeing here whether it's a business or not. Why it is important, you will get to know later. So this is the definition of business. Clear? Let's summarize. Business includes any trade or commerce, manufacture, profession, even if there is no monetary benefit. Any activity incidental to it is also a business. Activity of volume, nature and continuity is not relevant. Supply or acquisition of goods including capital goods or services in connection with commencement or closure of business, yes, it is a business. Provision of facility by club or association to the members for a consideration, yes. Admission for consideration to any premises, service as holder of office, activities of a race club including totalizator, licensed bookmaker, any activity of government or local authority as public authority falls under the definition of business. Friends, you have to remember these points, which are very, very important to discuss about the chargeability section, or we are talking about the taxable event, right? Okay, let's move on to the next important topic of the subject, supply. Very stuffed provision. There are a lot of things to be discussed here. So I want you to be ready with your pen and paper and make important notes. Right? Now, let us see subsection 1 of section 7. Section 7 talks about supply. Right? If I again go back and if I remind you of the definition which we have discussed about the goods and service tax, article 366(12)(a), it talks about levy of the GST on supply of goods or services or both, excluding the alcohol for human consumption. Right? Now, this supply is a taxable event for the purpose of GST. So, what is this taxable event? Now, let us see. For the purpose of manufacture, there will be a central excise. In case if you sell any goods, there will be a VAT. If you import any goods, import tax, that is customs duty. So these are the taxable events. In any taxation law, these are the events which will trigger the taxability. Right? Under GST, supply is a taxable event which triggers the taxability, which triggers the chargeability. So therefore, supply, the term supply is very, very important and very important to understand the entire concept. Now let us see. For the purpose of this act, the expression supply includes. Again, you have to remember the definition which I have mentioned. Here, it is not an exhaustive definition, it is an inclusive definition. There is only one word, includes. What does that mean? How do you interpret this? Supply includes. Now, by keeping the general meaning of the term supply, it also includes items specified in A, B, C, D. Now, what is supply? It is not defined. It includes, is an inclusive definition. So, what is the general meaning of this word supply? So, the dictionary meaning of the word supply is making something available to somebody. Making something available to someone is a supply. How do you making something available to somebody? Now let us see. All forms of supply of goods or services are both, such as sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease or disposal, made or agreed to be made for a consideration by a person in the course or furtherance of business. Lot of stuffs. Let us see. I said supply means making something available to somebody and includes all forms of supply. Means how do you make the things available to somebody? In this form. Which form? Sale. Through sale, you can make something available to somebody. Through transfer, you can make something available to somebody. Barter, exchange, license. Correct? But if you remember, it says all forms of supply and such as. How you have to read this? Whatever the modes are available for making goods or supply available to somebody, that covered as a supply. Such as means the word such as is only an illustrative list. It's only a list of illustration. It is not conclusive. You cannot consider only what is specified here, that is sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease or disposal is only a supply. Answer is no. All forms of supply, any forms of supply, through any other mode you make goods or services available to somebody, that falls under the definition of supply. What is given here is only an illustrative list. Okay. Now, all forms of supply of goods or services are both, okay, made or agreed to be made for a consideration. So, you supply, therefore, now onwards, be careful. Sale is not only the criteria. Sale is one of the supply, but it is not only the criteria. Therefore, while going forward, don't use the word sale of goods, there will be a GST. It is a supply of goods, there will be a GST. Right? Now, for supply of goods or services, there should be a consideration. What in case if there is no consideration? Will you be treating it as a supply? As per clause A, no. There is without consideration, there is no supply. Remember, we have seen the definition of consideration. Consideration need not be in cash. It can be even in the kind, but that does not include deposit. That does not include subsidies received from central government or state government, right? Now, by a person in the course of or furtherance of business, it has to be read as in the course of business or furtherance of business. What is furtherance of business? Now, furtherance of business is anything done in relation to a business while carrying on business or similar are simply a revenue generating ordinary activity of the organization or concern. So anything done in relation to a business while carrying out the business is the furtherance of business. Furtherance of business is not defined in the GST Act. Okay, the general meaning of the word furtherance of business, if you are doing any activity while carrying out business, then it is a course or furtherance of business. That is incidental or ancillary for the purpose of your business is a furtherance of business. Am I clear? Any activity which are incidental or ancillary for the purpose of your business is a furtherance of business. Okay. Now, what we have seen in part A, all forms of supply, that supply should happen for a consideration and it should be in the course or furtherance of business. Then only it will be a supply. Otherwise, it will not be a supply as per part A. Now, let us see in other words. Right? Let us look at from the different angle. What are the different angle? All forms of supply of goods or services in any form, but there is no consideration. But in the course of business or furtherance of business, will be a business, will be a supply? No, as of now. Now, next, supply happens for a consideration, but not for the purpose of business or for the purpose of not in the course of business or furtherance of business. Will there be a supply? Answer is no. Say for example, now free samples. In free samples, it's a general practice of the industry, especially in the pharmaceutical business, that the pharmaceutical companies will give the medicines as a free sample to the doctors or medical practitioners. Correct? Now, whether this supply of the medicine as a free sample will be treated as a supply, whether GST will be applicable. Now, stick on to the basics whenever there is an applicability. First, there should be a supply of goods or services, correct? Whether is it a goods or service? The answer is yes, it's a goods, correct? But is it a supply? For the purpose of supply, there should be a consideration. Is there any consideration in the free sample? Answer is no. So since there is no consideration in the free sample, that will not fall under the definition of supply. So therefore, it is not at all a supply. Since it is not a supply, as per article 366(12)(a), or also if you look at chargeability section of section 9, there is no chargeability because section 9 also talks about supply of goods or services. There shall be a levy. But here it is not a supply, therefore there is no GST on free samples. Now, you may ask, sir, what about 1 + 1, buy one item, get another item free? Right? Sale promotion activity. In sale promotion activity, there are different types. So sometimes you can buy 2 items and you will get another item free. Or you will buy 1 item and you will get another item. There is a different goods you will get as a free. That is, if you buy 2 shirts, 3rd shirt will be free. That is one kind of offer. Or if you buy 2 soaps, you will get 1 pencil free. So pencil is a different category. Right? Now, what about that item? Will that be chargeable to GST? Sir, we have no doubts about when you sell the goods. We are talking about the free item which is coming. For that, will there be any GST? Answer is yes, there will be a GST. It is a supply. Why? Understand. Will you get that free item without buying the main item? Answer is no. You will not get it, right? So therefore, it is a mixed supply. It is a composite supply. So what is mixed supply? What is composite supply? We'll see in the next part of our video. However, but that will not be treated as supply without consideration. There is a consideration. So therefore, that forms part of the supply, which is also clarified by a CBIC through a circular. Right now, in the course of business or furtherance of business, so which is very important. So it has to be through for the purpose of business or furtherance of business. Say for example, I'll give two examples. You will be able to understand these two examples with the course of business or not in the course of business. Number one, you are a chartered accountant in practice. You have AC installed in your office. Right? Now you will decide to dispose this asset, the AC, and buy the new one. You will sell it for 5,000 rupees AC. Right? So since you are into business, the sale of AC is incidental to your business, correct? So this is furtherance of business. Therefore, it is the sale of AC, though your main business is not the sale of AC, will fall under the definition of supply, correct? Now, second one, you are a chartered accountant, but you have installed AC at your residence, right? You are not using this for the purpose of business. Now what will you do is you will sell AC and you will take the another AC. When you are selling this AC from which is installed at your residence, will that be treated as a supply? There is a goods, there is a consideration, but is it in the course or furtherance of business? Answer is no. So therefore there is no supply here. Understood? Now again, if you see, all forms of supply of goods or services are both, such as sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease, disposal. There's many forms of supply is explained here, right? So what is this sale or transfer? What is the difference between sale or transfer? Let us understand each word of it, right? Sale is defined, not defined in GST Act, but it is defined in Sale of Goods Act. Say in Sale of Goods Act, it is defined as the transfer of title in the goods of the property. Now, sale means there should be a movement of title in the good. The ownership has to be transferred in the sale. Then only it is called as a sale. But transfer is only a movement, the possession of goods from one person to another person, from one location to another location. So therefore, for sale, there will be a ownership will be transferred. In case of transfer, ownership will not be transferred, but only a possession will change. So whether you sell it or you transfer it, that falls under the definition of supply. Similarly, look at the barter and exchange. All are confusing items, right? Barter. What is barter? What is the difference between barter and exchange? Both look similar, right? But there is a difference. Look at here. Barter means exchange of goods or services for goods or services. That is exchange of goods for goods, services or services, or for goods or services, or services or goods. Now, what does that mean? Say you are a chartered accountant in practice. You give consultation to a doctor, and doctor in return, doctor will give the consultation to you, right? But you will not be paying, neither of you are paying any money, right? So since it is an exchange of service to service, that falls under barter. Whether barter is a supply? Answer is yes. Will there be any consideration? Remember the definition of consideration. Consideration need not be in money, right? So there is something in return, by keeping the general meaning of the term consideration, right? Something in return. So therefore there is a quid pro quo. It's a consideration, and that falls under the definition of supply, right? But exchange is different from supply. If exchange is different from barter, here in exchange there will be a monetary value is involved. There, other than the exchange of goods or service, there is something involved here. Monetary exchange will be involved here. Now let us say you have a car, you have a motor car. You will sell the motor car and buy another motor car. So you will give your old car, and in addition to that you will also pay additional amount. I'll get the car. So this is an exchange. So here also you have given the goods, but in addition to that you have also given the money. So there is an exchange. If you are not given money, by giving old car, if you get a new car, then that becomes a barter, right? Only the meaning changes. Whether the supply will change definition, in both the cases it is a supply, right? Now license. What is license? License is not defined in the GST Act. License means any approval from the competent authority for the functioning of a business or your profession, then that becomes a license. Any approval required from the competent authority for doing a business. Let us say your telecommunication license, say 3G, 4G license will be auctioned by the central government, right? Central government is a competent authority, Ministry of Telecommunication. So if you are taking the license from the competent authority, and if you pay any money for taking the license, and that will be treated as a supply, that consideration will falls under the definition of supply. Now rental or lease, again look at the difference between the rental or lease. Usually rentals are for a shorter period and lease is for a longer period, right? And there is no commitment involved in rental, but there is a commitment involved in lease. There's a thin difference between the rental and lease. Or disposal. What is disposal? Now what is the difference between sale and disposal? See, disposal is defined as general dictionary meaning of the term disposal means getting rid of, right? So in case if you are using any asset which you want to get rid of, and if you want to dispose it, if you want to clear it, though it is a sale, it will be treated as a disposal because this is not a new item which you are selling, which you are already used and which you don't want to continue to use. So that is a disposal. Clear? Now you understand the difference between sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease, disposal, etc. Now I'll summarize once again. Supply means making something available to somebody, right? But this is an inclusive definition. Keeping this general meaning, it also includes all forms of supply. In whatever mode you transfer, that will be a supply. The examples of supply is given. That is sale, transfer, exchange, barter, all these things. And these supply should happen for a consideration. Without consideration, there is no supply. Even if it is for the purpose of business, if there is no consideration, there is no supply, right? But it should be in the for the purpose of business or for the furtherance of business. Furtherance of business we have also discussed, right? Now look at clause B. Import of service for a consideration, whether or not in the course or furtherance of business. Very important. Things will be complicated from now on. We are talking about here only import of service. Importation is also a supply. Correct? Includes point B, import of service. Now here see the mode. Through import, can you make something available to somebody? Correct? So this is also a form of importation. Importation is also a form of supply. Import of supply. But here the chargeability, this section 7 is talking about only services, not for the goods. Import of service for a consideration, whether or not in the course of business, whether or not in the course of or furtherance of business. Means, see, in part A there should be a consideration, and also it should be for the purpose of business or furtherance of business. But if you do import of service for a consideration, whether it's for the purpose of business or for your personal use, it will be treated as a supply. Import of service for consideration, it means even you are not doing any business, if you import any service and paying the consideration, even if you use it for your own purpose, personal purpose, will that be treated as a supply? Answer is yes. Yes. Sir, I'm not selling, I'm buying. How will that be treated as a supply? Remember on the chargeability section. In case of importation of service, the recipient will have to pay under reverse charge. Therefore, under section 7, this will be treated as a supply. Importation will be treated as a supply, and under section 9, you will pay on reverse charge basis. Clear? Now, and one more important point that I would like to make here, the import of service for a consideration from whom it is not mentioning. It means, just I'll keep that option open, we're going to discuss this further. This consideration may be from a related person, importation may happen from a related person, or maybe from an unrelated person. We'll see that. So for this I'll keep this option open, we'll discuss that later. Next, clause C, the activities specified in schedule 1 made or agreed to be made without a consideration. Now, first, what we have discussed in clause A. Clause A, we are not discussing about importation, right? We are talking about supply of goods or services or both, anything. Consideration should be there and it should be for the purpose of business. Look at the clause C. Clause C is talking about in case of items specified in schedule 1 without a consideration is a supply. Generally, any supply made without a consideration is not a supply. However, as per clause C, any activity specified in schedule 1 will be treated as a supply shall be made without a consideration, even without a consideration will be treated as a supply. Right? Now, let us see what are the items which are specified in schedule 1. Now, all this we have discussed. These are the schedule 1. Items activities specified in schedule 1 even without consideration will be treated as supply. Now, under that schedule 1.1, permanent transfer or disposal of business assets for which ITC is availed. Now, there are many points here. Permanent transfer. So, transfer should not be temporary. So, there should be a permanent transfer. Transfer of what? Business asset. Sir, what is business asset? Business asset is not defined under the Act. So, we'll need to understand. We'll understand. For which ITC is availed. Sir, business asset is not defined, you said. So, what is business asset? Now, let's segregate. Business we know, correct? We know the assets. What is asset? A resource controlled by the enterprise with respect to which future economic benefit is expected to flow. Being commerce students, we know the definition of asset, right? Now, you don't have to restrict the meaning here, the assets, for the purpose of this Act. Why? Usually, asset means what? Items which you will take it in the balance sheet. Correct? Asset will be appearing in the asset side of the balance sheet. Whether only such assets? It's no. Answer is no. Why? Because assume you are a chartered accountant, you buy certain pens, stationery, and that is used for the purpose of your business, and GST, whatever you pay GST for that can be claimed as an input credit, right? So, pen usually will you take it to balance sheet? Answer is no. But such pens is also covered here. Is a business asset. How? Look at this. Permanent transfer or disposal of business assets for which ITC is availed. So there will be treated as a supply. Even if you supply without a consideration, for the items on which your ITC is availed will be treated as a supply. Say for example, I'll continue with the same example which I've given. Chartered accounting, you buy certain pens and you claim the input tax credit on the purchase. Now you will gift these pens to your employees as a free of cost. Now, is it a goods pen? Answer is yes. Is it a supply? Remember, transfer, ownership, possession is transferred, right? Yes. Given, transferred. Is it a supply? Answer is yes. But is there any consideration in the first part? Part A? No. If you consider only clause A, it is not a supply. But here, have you taken input tax credit? Answer is yes. Then it is a supply. Right? So any assets which input tax credit is availed by the business entity, which is given as a free of cost without charging anything, then that is treated as supply. However, understand, there are certain assets on which you cannot claim input tax credit. So for claiming input tax credit, there are conditions mentioned in section 16, 17, 18. Read with certain rules. So section 17 subsection 5, to take it as an example, purchase of motor car on which ITC is blocked. You cannot avail input tax credit. Assume a company purchases a motor car on which ITC is not availed. ITC not availed because it is blocked credit. Now this motor car is given to the employees at a free of cost. Given to the employee at a free of cost. Now will be treated as a supply for the purpose of point number 1 here in schedule 1. This is not a supply because ITC is not availed. In case if it's ITC availed, that would have been a supply. Am I clear? Let's go to the next point. Supplies made between related persons or distinct persons in the course or furtherance of business. Again, we are talking about schedule 1. Schedule 1 talks about supply made without consideration is a supply. Now, under that, point number 2, we are talking about any supply between related persons or distinct person in the course or furtherance of business. Again, I'll add for the purpose of clarification, without a consideration will be treated as a supply. Now, there are 2 points which are mentioned here. One is related persons and second one is distinct person. Now we need to understand difference between related persons and the distinct person. Now related person is defined here. Now if you are looking for the definition of related person in section 2, you will not get. This related person is defined under explanation to section 50. Now let us see what is defined. Person including legal person are deemed as related person if such persons are officers or directors of one another business. Say for example, if an officer and directors are defined in the company side, correct? If a company supplies goods to its directors, to its officers without any consideration, then will that be treated as supply? Yes, because they are treated as related persons. It will be treated as a supply. Similarly, such persons are legally recognized partners. A firm is supplying goods to its partners without consideration. Will that be treated as a supply? Answer is yes. Now, such persons are employer and employees. Now, understand all these in point number 2. Here it is not talking about ITC availed. Only in the first part it is talking about ITC availed, right? So here, if you supply made, even ITC is availed or not availed, and if you supply to the director, it will be treated as a related person transaction. It will be covered. And employer and employee, answer is yes, it will be covered. Now, employer and employee, relationship between employer and employee is of related persons. It is covered. Say for example earlier I had given, supply of motor car. Right? Company purchased the motor car and ITC is blocked. Company has not taken the input tax credit, and that is gifted to employees. We gifted to employees in the part 1. It is not covered. Is that covered in part 2? Answer is yes, because it's a related person. So the motor car which is purchased by the company, if it is not given to related person on which input tax credit is not availed, if it is not given to related person or another distinct person, then there is no GST. If it is given to related person and distinct person, then there will be a supply. Correct? However, there is a threshold limit. We'll see the threshold limit later between a supplier, between employer and employee. Next, a third person controls or owns or holds directly or indirectly more than 25% of voting stock or shares of both of them. If a person directly or indirectly holds more than 25%, the transaction between that person and the company will be of related person. Say for example, to a shareholder, a company supplies at a free of cost. Then such person who is holding directly or indirectly more than 25% will be treated as related person. What in case if the supply made to a shareholder who is holding less than 25%? Not a related person. Next, one of them controls directly or indirectly other. When will you get the controlling interest? When you have more than 50% of the shareholding, or by controlling the board of composition of the board of directors. Right? Now, a third person controls directly or indirectly both of them. Now, assume there is a company, A company limited, B company limited, and C company limited. A company limited is holding 100% of the shareholding of B company limited and C company limited. Correct? Now, there is no shareholding between B company and C company. That is, neither B company is holding shares of C company, nor C company is holding shares of B company. If any transaction happens between B company limited and C company limited, will there be treated as a related party transaction? Yes, because it is controlled by a third person. Right? Now, such persons together control directly or indirectly a third person. Now, this is interesting. Look at this. Now, company A limited is holding the shares of C limited. How much? 90%. Assume. B company limited is holding the shares of C limited 10%. Right? B limited is holding the shares of C. How much? Only 10%. Correct? But together, how much they are holding? 100%. Controlling interest is there. Now, and B limited shares are held by A limited company, controlling interest. Now, if there is a transaction between C limited and the B limited, then there will be a related party transaction. Right? Now, such members are members of the same family. The family has been defined under the CGST Act, Section 2, subsection 49. Family here refers to spouse and children, and also parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters if they are dependent on them. That is the definition of family. If any transaction happens between the family without a consideration, that falls under the definition of supply, coming under Schedule 1. Now, one of them is a sole sale agent, sole distributor. Now, we need to understand who is a sole selling agent. Now, assume a company who is a manufacturer in US, he doesn't have any presence in India. Now, the company who is a manufacturer appoints a sales agent who will distribute its product entirely in India. So, he is the only person who will act on behalf of the manufacturer. Now, this person is a sole selling agent. He is also coming under the definition of related person. So, related person, any transaction happens between related person, related party without a consideration, falling under the definition here, Schedule 1. Clear? Now, so far we have understood related person, right? So, related person. Now, we need to understand distinct persons. There's a difference between related persons and distinct person. Now, understand, in order to fall related person, more than one person, right? For distinct persons, same person will be treated differently. How? When you have multiple registrations For each registration, you will be treated as a different person. What are the circumstances you will have multiple registration? Now let us see. If you are assume your hypothetical situation, you are having a hardware shop in Bangalore, India, right? Also similarly, you also have a hardware shop. It's your branch in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, right? But you have a business in two different states. Registration is a PAN based registration, correct? Now, in case if you cross a threshold limit, you have to separately register under both the states. You have to register in Karnataka as well as in the state of Tamil Nadu. Now, though you are a same person, single person, for the purpose of this act, you will be treated as a distinct persons, two different persons. Am I clear? Now, and also within the same state, you need not have multiple registrations. You can have only one registration. However, in certain circumstances, if you need and at the option of the supplier, you can have multiple registrations. Say if you want to open a hardware shop or if you want to have a retail shop, then for each type of business, each vertical of business, you can have a separate registration only within the state, right? So in case if you have a separate registration even within the state, then you will be treated as a different person for the purpose of this act. Now, transaction between a distinct person is also covered under this schedule. Therefore, without consideration, it will be treated as a supply. What are the circumstances you will have a supply here? See, the major important transaction will be your branch transfer. You will supply your stock from one particular shop to another particular shop. So, in this case, it's a branch transfer. Branch transfer without a consideration will be treated as a supply. Therefore, distinct person as well as related party transactions are covered under this, right? Now, another important point here is explanation 1 to section 8 of IGST Act. So now GST what we are studying is of GST Act, right? So now explanation 1 to section 8 of IGST Act is also very important. Now in IGST Act, in this explanation, these categories are also treated as distinct person. An establishment in India and any other establishment outside India. Now, assume you will take multiple registration if your presence in India, correct? In case if this branch is outside India you cannot take GST registration, right? So therefore, under IGST Act, even if you have any transaction, if you have establishment outside India, and any transaction you make between an entity outside India and in India, then this will be treated as a distinct person. But look at point number 2 and 3. It's very interesting. An establishment in a state or union territory and any other establishment outside that state or union territory. So we have already discussed earlier. If you have a multiple registration outside the state is also covered. Correct? Now, here it is not only talking about the registered person. In case if you have a presence, an establishment of the same entity will be covered. What in case where you are not required to take registration in some other act, but you are required to take registration in another act, in another state. Say for example, in Karnataka, you are registered as a hardware shop. Now, in state of Tamil Nadu, you have a wine shop, alcoholic liquor for human consumption, completely outside the scope of GST. So you are not registered under GST, correct? Now, what in case if supply happens between the wine shop and to the transaction of the hardware shop, or if you supply hardware shop products are supplied to the wine shop without any consideration, whether it will be treated as supply? Answer is yes, under explanation 1 to section 8 of IGST Act. Though you are not taken the registration, still it will be treated as covered under this part and it will be treated as supply. Next, let's move to the next one. Earlier we discussed a transaction between the employer and employee is treated as related party transaction, right? So now look at here, the transaction worth up to 50,000, gift up to 50,000 in a financial year by an employer to employee shall not be treated as a supply of goods or services. Now, I had given the example earlier, a motor car on which input tax credit is not availed by the company because of the restriction under section 17 subsection 5 block credit. And since it is not taken, if it is gifted by supplier free of cost, there will not be any GST because it will not be treated as supply because input tax credit is not claimed. However, if it is given to an employee, then it will be covered under part 2 because it's an inter-party transaction, correct? Related party transaction. However, if the value of the gift, if the value of the motor car is less than 50,000 rupees, then GST will not be attracted because up to 50,000 it is not a supply at all. If it is more than 50,000, it will be treated as supply. Again, another point you need to note here, perquisites by an employer to employee is not a gift. In case if the motor car is given under an employment contract as a perquisite, then it will be a part of his total overall remuneration, but it will not be treated as a gift. So, okay, so please be careful. There is a difference between gift and the perquisite. Now, let us move on. Yeah, transaction between principal and agent. Now, so principal and agent both are related party transactions. Now, certain transactions of these principal agents will not be covered under the schedule 1. It will not be treated as supply. So, what are these transactions? Let us say, if usually what is the transaction? Agent he will procure the material or he will supply the material on behalf of the principal. In case if an agent invoices to customers of principal directly in his name, in the agent's name, then it will be treated as a supply. So therefore, transaction between supply and agent will be again treated as supply. In case if the agent directly raises the invoice in the name of supplier, that is his principal, then the transaction between the principal and the agent will not be treated as a supply. Am I clear? So this is clarified by the department under circular number 57. Right? Let's go to the next one. This is very important. Importation of service. Para 4 of schedule 1. Import of service by a person from a related person or from his establishment located outside India without consideration in the course or furtherance of business shall be treated as supply. Now, in case if you are importing any goods from your related person who is located outside India without a consideration, but only in the course of business or furtherance of business, it will be treated as supply. Now, look at this in a different way. Import of service with consideration from a related party, but not in the course or furtherance of business. Now you tell me whether it is covered under supply or not. I'll repeat again. Import of service from a related person with consideration, but not in the course or furtherance of business or personal purposes. It will be covered. Answer is yes, but not here. It is covered in 7(1)(b). We have discussed importation of service for a consideration, and for the purpose of business, otherwise for the purpose of business or not. So it will be covered in 7(1)(b). But if you import any goods or services, if import of only services from the related party without consideration for the purpose of business or furtherance of business, this will be covered under schedule 1 and it will be treated as supply. Right? Now, let us discuss what we have, let us analyze, revise once what we have discussed through the help of this chart. Okay, I will discuss entire section 7, whatever we have discussed in 2 parts. One is supply of goods or services and second one is importation of services. Alright. So first discuss about supply of goods or services or both. There are 2 possibilities. You may supply the goods or services for a consideration or without consideration. But when you supply the goods for consideration, again there are 2 possibilities. for the purpose of business or furtherance of business, not for the purpose of business or furtherance of business, even under both the situation, right? So for each one, what is the supply or not a supply, we'll see. Again, look at this first one. For supply of business, supply of business or supply of goods or services for a consideration in the course of furtherance of business, it is a supply covered under 7(1)(a). Now again, supply of goods or services for a consideration not in the course of business or furtherance of business, it is not a supply at all, right? Now supply of goods or services are both without consideration in the course of business or furtherance of business covered under 7(1)(c), that is items, the transaction specified in schedule 1. Only for the items specified in schedule 1 it will be treated as supply, otherwise it will not be a supply. Now supply of goods or services without consideration not in the course of business or furtherance of business, not a supply at all. Now again, item specified in 7(1)(c) is only, that is schedule 1, is all of in the nature of business or furtherance of business. Clear? So therefore here, even for the item specified without consideration, if it is not in the course of business or furtherance of business, it is not a supply at all. Please make a note of this, very, very important. Entire section 7 is covered in this chart. Okay. Now let me go to the second chart. This chart talks about importation of services. Now importation of services under two situations we have studied. One is in point number 7(1)(b) and also under schedule 1. Now let us see. Import of service. You may receive from unrelated person or from a related person. Now, if it is from unrelated person, for a consideration without consideration. Import of service from related person for a consideration without consideration. Please understand, section 7 subsection 1 clause B does not distinguish between related person and unrelated person. Therefore 7(1)(b) gets attracted for both related as well as unrelated. But for the item specified in schedule 1, it talks about importation of service only from the related person. Clear? Now check all the possibilities. Right? Import of service from unrelated person for a consideration. So that's what matters. Importation of service from unrelated person, that is 7(1)(b), correct? If it is for consideration, it is immaterial whether it's for the purpose of business or not for the purpose of business. Both are covered in 7(1)(b). Right? Now, importation of service without consideration. If it is without consideration, if it is from unrelated person, again 7(1)(b), but 7(1)(b) what is important is consideration. So if there is no consideration, in both the cases it is not a supply at all. Am I clear? Now, import of service from a related person. From a related person for a consideration. The moment that consideration comes, 7(1)(b) gets attracted. When 7(1)(c) will be attracted, 7(1)(b) attracted only when there is no consideration. Correct? Now, importation of service from a related person for a consideration, whether in the course of business, not in the course of business, immaterial, only consideration is important, 7(1)(b). Import of service from related person without consideration, then only if it is for the purpose of business and furtherance of business, 7(1)(c) will be attracted, then only it will be treated as supply. Otherwise, in other words, if it is not in the course of business, it is not a supply at all. Not a supply. Please make a note of it. Am I clear? Alright. Go to the next one. Now, what we have discussed, for the purpose of this act, expression supply includes all forms of supply, we have seen, and it should be for a consideration. We have seen it should be for the purpose of business or furtherance of business. Point B we have discussed, 7.1b, 7.1c we have discussed. The activities specified in Schedule 1 made or agreed to be made without consideration. So what we have discussed so far is only subsection 1 of section 7. It's a lengthy video. There are a lot of items included in this section. That is the reason I said very, very important. Right? Now, clause D, very simple. Activities to be treated as supply of goods or supply of services as referred to in Schedule 2. Now, why here in the Erstwhile Act, that is, you take it either service tax or sale of goods, VAT of any of the state, there were a lot of ambiguity, especially with relation to certain items. So in both, it is to be labeled as a goods as well as services. Example, software. Software is to be treated as both goods as well as services. Works contract is to be treated as both services as well as goods. So there was a lot of ambiguity. So in order to avoid this ambiguity, now under GST Schedule 2 is inserted where it's clearly mentioned the items which are mentioned in Schedule 2 either as a goods, specifically goods, services specifically mentioned as a services. All right. Now, so in order to give you that example to give the clarity, like how it was earlier, it was a software. Now software is treated as service in Schedule 2. Works contract is treated as service in Schedule 2. Now there is no ambiguity. All right. Now let's go to subsection 2 of section 7. Now subsection 2 talks about notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 1. So whatever the concepts we have learned so far, please forget about it, because notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 1, all the concept whatever you have studied so far, consideration, with consideration, for the purpose of business, not for the purpose of business, forget about it. Here this subsection 2 gives two important criteria. Now, number 1, it has made the list of transaction in Schedule 3. Okay, activities or transactions specified in Schedule 3 are such activities or transaction undertaken by the central government, a state government or any local authority in which they are engaged as public authorities, as may be notified by the government on the recommendation of the council, shall be treated neither as a supply of goods nor as a supply of services. Now it has made two categories. Number 1, in clause B, it states the activities of transaction undertaken by the central government and state government. If you look at the definition of business, it is activities undertaken by central government, state government or local authority engaged as public authorities treated as a business. Am I right? Yeah. So these activities are grouped in one clause B. Other than the activities of central government, state government is classified in Schedule 3. And these two, saying that government is saying these two, I will not treat this as a supply, because now these items specified in Schedule 3 as well as item notified, the notification is very important. Not all the services provided by central government, state government is not treated as supply. Only the notified services, notified goods are not treated as supply. All right. Now let's look at two things separately. First, we need to see Schedule 3. What are the items? What are the transactions specified in Schedule 3? And also we need to look at what are the notified goods or services. These items are neither treated as a supply nor treated as a supply of services of goods or supply of services. Now, Schedule 3. Services by an employee to the employer in the course of or in relation to his employment. Services provided by employer and employee. This employer and employee relationship is not treated as supply of is not treated as a service. Okay, but other than the employment, service will be treated. Say for example, a teacher has been appointed by the college. If the teacher is appointed by the college, the relationship between the employer and employee and the main purpose of the teacher is the teaching, right? This transaction is not covered. In case if the teacher is appointed for any other purpose and if he gets paid, and it will not be treated as employer and employee relationship. Say for example, if he has been appointed as an invigilator, if he has been appointed as a valuer, right? So separately by the university, then it will not be treated as employer and employee relationship. All right. Now, services by any court of tribunal established under any law for the time being in force. Now, look at this. Court. Court includes magistrate court, high court, and supreme court, or tribunal. Tribunal here refers to tribunal established under any law for time being in force. Any law. Say for example, Companies Act has mentioned about NCLT. It's a tribunal, right? Similarly, under Income Tax Act, ITAT is established. So these are the tribunal established under a special law, under a law. So therefore, these court fees you pay or the tribunal fees you pay, and there will not be any GST because this will not be treated as a service. Next, functions performed by MP, member of legislature, MLA, member of panchayats, municipalities, member of local authorities, not treated as service. Similarly, duties performed by any person who holds any post in pursuance of the provisions of the constitution in that capacity. Now, what is this? A person holding the constitutional power, constitutional capacity. Say, for example, President of India. He is holding the position under the Constitution, Prime Minister, and Controller and Auditor General of India. So services provided by these people are not treated as services. The duties performed by any person as a chairperson or a member or a director in a body established by the central government or a state government or local authority, and who is not deemed as an employee before the commencement of this clause. Now, if central government appoints any board, right, and if a person is appointed as a chairman of the board, then such person, the services provided by such person will not be treated as a employee, and services provided by that person is not treated as supply of services, right? Next, services of funeral, burial, crematorium, mortuary, including transportation of the deceased, this is not covered under service. Sale of land subject to construction activity of Schedule 2, sale of building. Now, sale of land is an immovable property. Land is an immovable property, right? So, sale of land is not covered, is neither a goods nor service. However, construction activity of building falls under the Schedule 2 as service, correct? Schedule 2 has classified this as a service. So, therefore, construction activity will come under supply of service, whereas sale of land, only sale of land will not come under the category of supply of service. Now, I'm talking about the construction service, works contract service. What in case if the under the land, if the building is already constructed and the certificate of completion is taken and if it is sold, in that case again it will be an immovable property and there is no works contract, so there is no GST, it is not treated as supply. Actionable claim other than lottery, betting and gambling. Now look at this. We discussed this under the definition of goods. Actionable claim we have seen other than lottery, betting and gambling. Now, actionable claims other than lottery, betting and gambling. So actionable claim is not a service, correct? But lottery, betting and gambling is not covered here in Schedule 3. So therefore, where actionable claim is included, whether it is included in the definition of goods or services, if you have seen, it is included in the definition of goods. So therefore, lottery, betting and gambling is goods. Apart from these three, it is neither a goods nor services. Supply of warehoused goods to any person before clearance for home consumption. See, in case if the goods are imported and the goods before clearance for home consumption, you will have two options. Once the goods are imported, you can clear it for home consumption, pay the customs duty and take the goods. Or in case if you don't want to take the goods for home consumption, you can keep it in the warehouse. The warehouse will be of two types: public warehouse and the public warehouse and the private warehouse or bonded warehouse. Both warehousing, private or bonded warehouse, public warehouse, In both the cases, in case when the goods are under warehouse, supplied under warehouse, and if it is supply happens within that, then it will not be treated as supply of neither supply of goods nor supply of services. Supply of goods by the consignee to any other person by endorsement of document of title to the goods after the goods have been dispatched from the post of origin located outside India, but before the clearance for home consumption. Now, when the goods are imported from the place origin located outside India, means at the time of importation, and before clearance for home consumption, if any supply happens, it will not be treated as a supply of goods or services. It means this part is talking about high sea sale. High sea sale, what happens at the time of importation itself, when the moment goods are imported, and the parties within India can start selling the goods, right? They can sell the goods by transfer of title in the goods even before the receipt of goods, right? In such a case, it will not be treated as, unless it is cleared for home consumption, it will not be treated as supply of goods. Clear? Now, again, subsection 2 of 7, there are two parts which you have seen, right? I said schedule 3, it has given the list of items. It is neither a supply of goods nor supply of service, which we have seen. Now, second part, I said central government or state government, whatever the activities which are performed by them, only which are notified, these notified goods or services are neither supply of goods or not supply of services. Now, let us see which are these activities. Now, look at the second paragraph. CBIC has clarified the following activities or transactions are neither supply of goods nor supply of services. Interstate movement of various modes of conveyance between distinct person carrying goods or passenger or both. Various modes of conveyance. What are the various modes of conveyance? Modes of conveyance by rail, by road, by air, correct? By water. Again, here it talks about interstate. So, even by flight is also covered? Yes, flight is also covered. However, if it is undertaken by the central government and the state government, not by the private, therefore, any activity carried on by central government and state government as a public authority under any modes of conveyance between distinct person carrying out goods or passenger or both. In case if the modes of conveyance is for goods as well as for passengers, it is not treated as supply of goods nor supply of services. Again, in case if the conveyance is used for the purpose of repairs and maintenance, then also it is not covered and there is no supply of goods or services. However, the above activity may not be treated as supply. Consequently, IGST will not be leviable on such supply. However, applicable CGST, SGST, IGST as the case may be shall be leviable on repairs and maintenance done on such conveyance. Now, if a conveyance is used for the purpose of repairs and maintenance, it is not covered. However, repairs and maintenance to such conveyance is applicable. Say for example, a tolling vehicle is used for towing the vehicle. If any particular vehicle is used, then it is not treated as, if it is again controlled and operated by the central government, state government, it is neither a supply of goods nor supply of services. However, if any repairing activity has to be done for the towing vehicle, then it will be covered under CGST or SGST. It is clarified through circular number 1/2017. Alright. Now, that's all. This is the end of the presentation. In case if you are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. In case if you have any doubts or clarification, feel free to contact me. Thank you so much.